All right, let's go this week. We're chatting to Justin Tatum at the Hawks, and the Cavs are in town, keeping a close eye on Luke Travers.
And we're talking NBA with Derek Rucker and some advice for the Kings. Play Jonah Bolden.
This is the Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Let's get into our starting five now. Plenty happening at Southeast Melbourne. Most recently, they have announced their new import, Abdel Nader. 202 NBA games. What have you heard about him? How do you think this fit is going to go?
Well, it looks like he's going to be quality. I think he's going to be a good fit. Positionally, I think he's a good fit. I guess the only question mark is he hasn't played professionally for a bit of time. So that's probably the only question mark. It might take him a little bit longer to get going, but Southeast Melbourne are rolling. They were great against the Kings last week, so they don't need him to come in and dominate from the start because they've already got so much talent.
Speaking of the Kings, what is going on? They looked really disinterested. They weren't engaged the other day. I can't even remember the amount of times that JA was sort of yelled at for not running into the group huddle. Something's not clicking.
Well, and his stances. I mean, his stances off the ball are bad. Even on the ball, the body language isn't great. They're certainly not living up to the talent they've got, because you rate them talent-wise, they're one of the best teams in the league, maybe the best team in the league. So they're certainly not living up to that. So it's hard to put a finger on what's going on behind closed doors, but you certainly got to ask the question about what's going on, because the results aren't right. Bolden, I think Bolden needs to play more. I think he's been outstanding, particularly on the offensive end. You know, I think he had like 15 and 15 in 21 minutes or something. So I'd like to see him play a little bit more.
Well, Andrew Bogut said in his podcast this week that if it were up to him, he'd probably look to change some of the rotations, maybe inject some new energy into the starting five as well. They've got Tassie this weekend. He said it's a make or break game for their season.
Big test. That's the team you don't want to be coming up against if it's a make or break game, because they are so consistent, Tassie, so well drilled and disciplined. Probably the complete opposite of what the Kings are. Kings got more talent, but don't have the same sort of discipline.
The Adelaide 36ers had their first game under Scott Ninnis this weekend. Things are just going from bad to worse, it feels like.
Well, I was scratching my head. I'm like, if you're going to make changes, surely you're not going to make changes to McCarron, Kadee and Detch. They were horrendous. I was sitting on the couch with a frothy and I said to my kids, I could get 20 in this game. I could waddle up and down and still get 20 against the defence of the Adelaide 36ers. They were terrible. They are the wooden spoon team without doubt. They're like, I just can't see how they could get above anybody with the way the Hawks are playing, and I just can't believe the changes that were made.
Up against the Cairns Taipans, who are the second best defensive team in the competition, it felt like neither team were playing defence, to be honest.
It was jungle ball. They were just running up and down. No one had any sort of care factor at all, strategy. No one wanted to contain the ball. The amount of times that they just didn't get in a stance and people just drove straight past them, straight line drives to be able to get baskets, isn't at the level that we expect of the NBL.
5.
Hoops highlights time, thanks to Boost Mobile.
Opposite wing on that one.
How good was that? He just made that look easy.
4.
You were living under a rock if you didn't see this one this week.
Got a 2-on-1 with Monk. Drug. Malik.
And this is just what he does. Same thing.
Raising his hand for it, but guess who else is getting in on the action?
Beautiful stuff.
Malik Monk.
He put some feeling in that one.
Throwing it down.
3.
30-17.
And then nails it.
All the way in and all the way up.
That could be number one.
I think that is number one.
Man up there with 2 hands. 2.
Hammer, check this out.
Gets beneath the free throw line. The floater is short.
And imagine having that sort of athleticism.
Down with tremendous force for the final score.
One of the greatest to ever do it. And let's get to number one.
I still don't know how he did that.
1. Third quarter. Victor rolling to the bucket.
I love this. He gets some serious air there.
That is a great finish. Made that look easy.
Somebody needs a body bag.
Those are your Hoops highlights, thanks to Boost Mobile. Well, D-Ruck is joining us now from Brisbane for Points Made. Guys, I want to ask about the NBA in-season tournament. The Lakers were the eventual winners. LeBron James with the tournament MVP. The banners going up at Staples or Crypto. D, what did you make of the tournament as a whole?
I really enjoyed it. I especially liked the final weekend. I like the fact that LeBron came out and played really hard like it mattered to him, Hammer. And when you get buy-in from one of the greats of all time, it doesn't hurt your tournament at all. I think it adds to the potential down the road for this developing into something bigger. And it was great to see Anthony Davis wake up and deliver in a big moment. Now, expect him to go back into a slumber for about 2 weeks, because we know when he wins championships or does anything great, it's never long-lasting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it was fantastic. For those that didn't like the in-season tournament, how's this stat? It was the most viewed game, apart from Christmas Day, in the last 6 years for a regular season game. So it was hugely successful for something that's happening at this time of the year. There's no doubt that it helped that LeBron was part of this and that he really went after it. He promised his rookies he was going to win another $500K each for those guys. But then when you start talking about putting up the banner, this is where I draw the line. The banner doesn't go in the rafters. It's a tournament. It's not real. It's fluff. That's where we draw the banner.
That's so true. And I remember Shaq used to make fun of Sacramento for winning the division banners at their place in Sacramento. So it's along those lines. However, I will say this, Hammer, and Joe and I had this discussion last weekend. Say this event goes on to be something brilliant 20, 25 years down the line, and they have that banner hanging up there, and LeBron was part of the first ever one. It could take on a significance and importance historically that we probably don't see right now.
Well, I say just put it in the cupboard until it actually takes on that significance, dust it off, and then put it up at that time, because right now it's fluffy. It's fluff.
Well, and probably you have a bit more insight to banners than most of us.
I do. And what comes up sometimes comes down.
Hammer, you mentioned the $500K for each player from the winning team as the incentive for the tournament. Tyrese Halliburton had an interesting take. He said that what if there's a playoff spot up for grabs for the winners of the in-season tournament? I absolutely love this. I don't know logistically how it works, but D, what do you think?
Well, Joe, I don't know why you love it so much, because if it happened this season, guess who's probably getting knocked out? Miami.
I know. But hey, that's all right. This is an Adam Silver sort of problem to try and organise. Mate, but do you like it?
No, mate, there's no way.
I love it.
The tournament is the tournament. You get your $500K each, you get your little banner, but you don't get a playoff spot for it. This is a tournament. It has nothing to do with the regular season on the bigger scale. You don't get a playoff berth for winning a tournament.
Joe, I'm with you. I like it, Joe, and I think Hammer's just kind of stuck in tradition, which I understand as well. But I think it's a great idea, and it really increases the importance of those play-in games, those in-season games, Hammer.
You play 82 games to make the playoffs. You're saying a 6-game tournament should determine whether you make the playoffs or not. That's a joke. You guys are kidding yourselves.
Well, there are reports that the NBA are looking into this, so we'll see what happens. Maybe it's something they trial next year.
Trial. That is disgraceful. 6 games and you're going to make the playoffs.
I love it so much.
That's like playing 2-game tournament in the NBL and you make the playoffs. That's the equivalent. That's what you guys want. You can't give them the playoff berth. You earn that 82 games. Longevity.
I know we're talking about incentives. This is going to it's going to wake people up. Matty Logue at the desk for the Lowdown this week. Matty, we're talking coaches. Adelaide need a coach. The Hawks need a coach. Are we bordering on a bit of a coaching merry-go-round happening?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of calls going around the league, guys, that, can Chase Buford come back? Is he going to be interested? We can reveal for starters that Chase won't come back to the NBL. He wants to get to the NBA. I think he's been taking the patient road at this point, but he would see that as a potential step back. He's won the 2 championships, so you can cross Buford's name off the list. The other one that's interesting is Brian Gorge, and it always comes up because it's Gorge. And I think at some stage in the right capacity, Gorgon will be in the NBL again, but it's got to be the right capacity. But in terms of Adelaide or Illawarra, I think no chance. I'm told that post Paris Olympics he'll go to Asia again, and he's had a lot of experience in Asia. But it all ends into, I think, the biggest coaching position, guys, is Adelaide. And I heard you guys earlier talking about the situation there. It is messy. It's ugly. It really is on and off the court. And there's established names that have been around the NBL for a long time, coaches that are like a bit hesitant. They're like, well, I've heard it described that it's a good situation to go to Adelaide. I don't.
Because of their current roster position.
Because of their current roster position. Yeah. And I don't know. I tend to disagree in a lot of ways, only because there's no guarantee that the current roster position will be there. So for example, like Kadee, who's being forced to sit, he might decide, oh, well, I don't want to be patient here and stay. And then also, I think it's more as a collective Adelaide. That's the concern, is that there's coaches that are looking at it and going, oh, well, would you go there? Because
but you're
the front
talking about
office.
Ownership and
I'm talking about
right?
the front office. Yeah, I think they've been on different pages, and I think there's concern there from outside for a long time. Now, Trevor Gleeson's been mentioned, but again, as a good situation. But I think Trevor's made it pretty clear that he's won championships. He wants to go to something that's stable, and I think it's going to take time for Adelaide to be stable again.
As someone who's coached, would you take that job right now?
You'd have to have very, very firm talks to be able to understand where management's at and what they're trying to do, and that you're going to be able to run your race and recruiting and what they're trying to do, what the budgets are, all those things, because at the moment it's been a mess. It's people that have a choice wouldn't take that job right now, and that's Trevor Gleeson.
On a slightly more positive note, the Tassie Jack Jumpers are potentially looking to re-sign Scott Roth.
Yeah, it's a great story. Obviously, he's done such a terrific job down there, guys. I think they're a massive chance this year. I like when Shane talks about how they're systematic and they're so disciplined. You'd associate that with being boring.
I love this vision.
But they're not. But then look at him. I love the fact that he has a cheeky cigar before a game. That's his ritual, and he genuinely is a good fellow. Like, you talk to him off the court, and yeah. So my understanding is it's an extension for a multi-year at least, and I think that's great news for Tassie. What he's building down there and is terrific.
And so they should, mate. But when you talk about systems being boring, I don't see that at all. I don't
either. No,
you listen to Jack McVeigh, and he loves it, and their imports, they love it. He embraces them. But what he does is he's really firm with keeping people accountable. And when people are accountable, everyone knows exactly what to expect, how you fit in, where you're going to get yours, what your role is, everything else. And it becomes easier to be able to play when you've got somebody that has that vision and has an ability to be able to give you enough freedom, but also keep you accountable about how you're going to get wins.
Oh, and you can see it, the way they play, and you add that with the fans down there, and Joe goes down there all the time, commentary at the NBL. It's unbelievable.
No, he's great.
So
they've done a great job.
Yeah,
and they are a chance. They are a legitimate chance this year.
We're pleased to say that Hawks interim coach Justin Tatum joins us now from Wollongong. Justin, so great to have you on the basketball show. You're just coming off the Hawks, arguably their best win in the last couple of seasons. How are the group feeling after that, and what were the factors that enabled you to go and get that against Perth?
It was a really good feeling to win that game. We've been playing pretty well up until then since I took over, and we wanted to get over, since we lost that game to Brisbane, we wanted to come and give the hometown a good showing, and it was better than what I expected. But the preparation of the guys to lead up to that, it was just the focus and the mentality that, we have had multiple losing season last year, and we didn't start off that great this year. So we wanted to, and with me, I expressed to the guys, they got a clean sheet of paper to kind of prove who they are, what they can do. And so I think that game showed us a big, a big picture of what we can do down the road.
What specifically have you changed, let's say in practice, since taking over to turn this around?
I like to have practice. When we come to work, we like to have fun. When you come to work, you want to make sure that when I go to work, I'm going to enjoy work. And that's kind of what I felt I made that environment. in the last couple of weeks, not with games, but with just more competitive things that where the guys had to be held accountable. And so they enjoy these things, the new drills and things that I brought to practice. And so that I'm a player's coach. I played before, I played so long, and then I know how their mood swings, their body language, and things that I can pick out where it might be hurting or not helping the team, and I call them out on that. So, I'm really straightforward with my guys, and they respect that, and so they want to be held accountable. And those are some of the things that I felt that I brought to this team in the last couple of weeks.
I mean, I know you're busy at the moment and focused on the Hawks. How much time do you get to watch the league? And obviously, Jason over there as well. How much of that is a focus for you?
It's a major focus, but not as much as I used to. But my club set me up with the TV in our practice area, and so Jason comes on at probably the same time that we practice, and when we finish it on up. So I sit here in the pit for about an hour and a half, 2, and watch it on the screen. So I get a chance to watch majority of the games and still critique him as a dad. But that's the only team that I watch is the Celtics. I don't watch anybody else, so I can't really tell you who's doing well, who's doing bad. So he's my main priority. So because we still like to have those competitive talks and conversations here and here out.
Can you make the NBL playoffs from here? It's tough.
Yeah, the NBA playoffs are tough. But I think we're heading the right direction. We got out the bottom, and we jumped up a couple slots to the 8th spot, and we know it's the top 6. So we know we got a long season to go. We can still have a chance to make it up there. So that's the goal.
All right, time to talk NBL SuperCoach. Nathan Strample is joining us. Nathan, 4 teams have 2 games this week. Talk us through this. Who are you going for? We know that you're leading the SuperCoach standings as far as the basketball show is concerned.
Well, for me, I think there's a bit of strategy around it. I think it's very hard not to bring in Alan Williams. The big source is rolling, and it'd be a brave SuperCoach and not to find the way to bring him in this week. He, I think, is the logical choice as captain. But then the second choice for me, I think a point of difference might be the way to go. A lot of people looking at Mitch Creek, back-to-back doubles for Southeast Melbourne, but I wouldn't mind just a sneaky point of difference. Maybe someone like a Luke Travers out of Melbourne, or one of the Tassie guys in Crawford, or Doyle if he's playing. But we're waiting on news there for Milton Doyle to see if he's made his way back from the States yet.
Mate, I've gone Magnay. I just think that his stocks are rising, and the longer he goes on, he's going to play more court time. He's been dominant.
This is what I'm talking about, a sneaky point of difference there. A Magnay who's got a low break even, his cost is going up. If you can get some of those guys in now, that is going to help in the back end of the season where your bank balance is a bit higher, you can afford to make changes. Because if you look forward in the fixture, there's a number of weeks coming up with only 2 teams on the double. There's that week where it's just Melbourne and Sydney. Further on, there's a week where it's just Adelaide and Tasmania. So you get a Magnay now cheap, and you can hold him till then. He could be a valuable piece.
Well, that is the basketball show. As always, thanks to Code Sports, Boost Mobile and the Throwback Store. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week. It's our last one before Chrissy.
It is. Can't wait.
Yeah. See you then.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.